My tech is not working right. Look at my picture. It's all blue. So anyway, we are here on Mental Health Monday. And I'm so glad I have a clinician in with me because while we were trying to manage things, first of all, I apologize to the audience for being late today. Um, again, we were on the road on Wednesday and settings were changed. Anyway, it could be the season that is contributing along with um, the tech being an issue, but we're here this morning. We are glad to be here. We have a wonderful sister coming into the room who is going to chat with us about seasonal. And I hope she wasn't laughing at me when we were texting because I was saying seasonal effectiveness disorder and a seasonal affective disorder. But that's sort of some sort of way that some of us have been feeling over the past few weeks. I know, change of season for me going into the fall means that summer is over. And, winter's coming. I love the holidays, but some people actually have been clinically diagnosed with something called seasonal affective disorder. And shout out to Dr. Brandy Brooks, who we've talked about this before, but Dr. Brooks often names that she is not a certified clinician. We are being very intentional with the reinvigoration of our Your Healthy Java segment to bring clinicians into the room, not only medical doctors, physicians, nurses, but also on the psychosomatic side, which is the clinical behavioral health side. And so I am so excited today to kick off our first intention of Your Healthy Java Mental Health Mondays with Coach La. She is, her government is Lakeisha Austin, but she is affectionately known in many spaces, in all spaces, as Coach La. She challenges us to bet on ourselves. And so I believe it is her first time here. And of course, we would be late with tech issues on her first time here. But I will just personally say I'm glad there's a clinician in the room that can pull me back a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to bring her in. Do me a favor, everyone, share this because this is important. A lot of us deal with this maybe undiagnosed and just go along with it, but there are ways that we can treat it. But we can't even treat it or think about it until we talk about it. And so that's what we're going to do right now. I am so glad to have you in the room, Coach La. We got it worked out. You got on your wonderful, you got on your red jacket and whatnot, and I'm sitting here dark and blue. But anyway, no. Oh, no pun intended. Dark and blue, Mental Health Monday. Maybe this was a godsend. So you can sit here and we can do in real time treatment for my
Oh my goodness.
Listen, it's good to have you here. This has been a long time in the making. You are definitely a well-known figure in our Black community and specifically for your clinical experience, but not just that. I mean, you are a wonderful sister. There's a lot you do in community. You exude this for lack of better words, swag and persona about you that is just so engaging. You're looking wonderful. And so let me just go ahead and give you the camera and allow you to say good morning to the folks, and we'll go from there.
Good morning, Java family. I'm excited to be here with you guys. I'm excited to just spend space on this rainy Monday morning here in Boston. Yes, I'm rocking my red for Mr. Java with Jimmy. So good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You got to come with spirit and a red jacket on a rainy day. It changes everything, baby.
Listen, spirit on a rainy day, all that wonderful stuff, and raining, the season, tech. So maybe this worked out well. So because I know in the back of your mind you're in your treatment space while you watch me crash out before we went live.
Well, it also reminds me of just how much we're not in control, right? And that we can feel prepared and do something all the time, and just a little thing can be a monkey wrench and just throw us off. And the strategies and tools of one, support systems, patience, breath. But at the end of the day, we just want stuff to work. That's it.
See, okay, so I'm going to be intentional because what I just saw there, you have the clinical, the book experience, which we need. We celebrate all the wonderful letters behind your name, absolutely. But a lot of that is for naught if you don't have life experience that identifies with with who we are. And you saw, I was trying to, you had patience. I was trying to exhibit patience. I was trying to exhibit patience with this interface before it went across the room. My camera almost went across the room, but we just wanted it to work with all that understanding. And so with you saying that, that was just an example of, you identify with me,
Yes.
you identify with our community. So let's back up a little bit. What about you, Lakeisha, in your life growing up? Tell us about who you are that caused you to want to go in this space of helping people maintain their wellness and also address their mental illnesses or illness.
That is a really good question because I am what most people would call a career changer. So I didn't start off as a psychotherapist, y'all. I had no idea, no clue that this was where my life and my journey and what lifing was going to be doing. But what I can tell you is growing up as a Bostonian in Roxbury during the crack epidemic, I saw a lot, right? I saw a lot of struggle, I saw a lot of strife, and I always just wondered why. I think if anything, I wanted to understand myself, understand my community, understand why we were in conditions that we were in. So when I did get the opportunity and I earned a 4-year scholarship to go to UMass Boston, shout out to all my UMass Boston people. I really was just in a place of self-discovery. So I took a lot of Black history classes and a lot of economics classes, a lot of psychology and a lot of sociology classes. But originally my whole goal was to learn how to make money. I had come to the conclusion in my mind at 18 that money was a tool and money was what we needed in our community to change things around. I wanted to be the person to be that philanthropist that would come back and buy up the block and would be able to create programs and access and resources. So I didn't know then that I was already talking like a social worker. I was already talking in that way. But I always thought, let me go. I became a bank manager. I was a full service financial representative. Let me learn about money, right? Let me learn about how to create wealth. And that is ultimately what where I started. And then what led me here was the crisis with the real estate market. I became a mom, a single mom. I bought a home, and life just started lifing, and everything that I had planned to do sort of um, was disrupted by decisions, choices, and things that weren't in my control. And I think that's when I started to really see just how much weight we carry, especially Black women. That's invisible, where we're just always being strong. And then I did this wonderful thing and decided to give back, and I became a foster mom. And I think that changed my world because I only took young women that were of color between the ages of 14 and 21. And I was intentional about that because I had a 2-year-old son. And those young ladies were going through so many things that led me to become a life coach. Life coaching and foster parenting, and me wanting to work with the population of young girls I wanted to work with, which was who's going to pay for a life coach for a 14-year-old girl that's in the Department of Children and Families custody. How's she going to be able to afford it? Insurance companies didn't pay for life coaches. And someone said, well, no, let me rewind. I started looking up life coaches and they had an acronym behind their name, and it was LICSW. And I said, what the heck is an LICSW? And I looked it up. And then I found out the director of DARE at the time was also an LICSW. And so me being my, business minded self, I started investigating and figuring it out. And then I went and pulled up the specs of how you could get paid and how insurance companies would pay you. And I was like, oh, they'll pay an LICSW. And part of that is coaching. Okay, they won't directly pay you for coaching, but in therapy and just the nature of therapy involves a level of coaching. And my business mind just put two and two together. And next thing you know, with recommendations, of course, that I would be a great social worker, I ended up in going to Simmons. Simmons was the only school that I applied for. So I went to school to get my master's in clinical social work, got to Simmons and found out Simmons also offered a dual program where you can get your master's in business administration at the same time. And one of my social policy professors was like, why aren't you in this program? So, and when I think about it, right, everything, it was the universe, it was timing, it was me betting on myself back then and didn't even realize that I was doing it, taking chances, and not really necessarily knowing how it was all going to come together, but knowing that it would, which is the first piece of the bet on self model, is to believe that it's all going to work out. To be empowered is what the E is for. So I think the community and the support system empowered me that, you know, I could dream big and I could do something that other people like MSW and an MBA, like that doesn't even make sense. What's that? Why? How you gonna make that work? And I'm like, well, if you understand social work, you need money. You got to know how to make money to build these programs. You got to know how to create these social platforms. You can't do it without money, right? So you need to understand money.
So you understand, I understand everything that you're saying there, you know, about the impact of it. I understand everything you're saying. So I'm going to move away from me, and I wanted to extract in a couple of things there, and then we're going to get into some of the seasons in your life and seasonal affective disorder. One of the things that I heard you talk about is the relationship between our mental wellness or addressing our mental illness and money. There is a stark relationship, and I'll be transparent. When I'm struggling, oh boy, depression, anxiety, da 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 da.
We
Can't
talk about it,
function.
though.
Yeah. And then when the check lands, I'm motivated. House is spick and span, like it. And so I think that we, in the past, we have heard, you know, often, you know, don't let money da 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 do this. But let me take it to the scripture a little bit. The Bible says that money answereth all things, not the love of it, the money itself. You got issues, problems in a marriage, all of that. It's so interesting. Anyway, so coach, we're not going to get into a session for me here. Your journey is amazing and similar to me. You know, who would have ever thought that, you know, you were in finance? It reminds me of Naisha, who also was in finance, and now it's interesting that finance will drive you to a
Yeah. I mean, when I look back on it, it made sense. I was always a talker. I always wanted to help people. And there's so many legs to financial services. It's something that's never going to go away. You know what I mean? There's always a different avenue you can take, be it direct services or more operational. Like there's just a lot of moving parts. You can go into policy procedure. There was just a lot that you could do. So there was really, I wanted a career that was never ending. And also, as you get older in financial services, you become even more valuable, right? Because you're seasoned.
Yep.
And you know more. And so when I first started in financial services, a young Black girl, a lot of people was like, how you gonna help me with my money? You ain't got no money. So, you know, you have to go through a hazing period, I feel, of paying your dues and sort of being at the bottom of the totem pole before you really can be prosperous in financial services. I probably do great now, but it was a struggle. So being a full service financial representative was a struggle, which ultimately led me to managing banks and sort of taking a different pivot. So I've always pivoted. And it's interesting now, I just use it all to run my practice, and I'm helping other clinicians build their practice and get to a place where they can be independent as well, and call their own shots and be able to really scale out their income and still work too. Because I think you got to have workers. I'm not against having a job. A lot of people play up entrepreneurship and glamorize it. At the end of the day, it's all work, right? It's just a matter of is it work you enjoy and you have a passion to do. But either way, you still got to put in some elbow grease, right? You know, you still got to get in there and roll your sleeves up, regardless if you work for yourself or for someone else.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make a note, Lakeisha, just for 1 second. Unfortunately, we have someone that is infiltrated and I'm trying to block them. But if you notice a comment on a page from a Pilar Crespo, do not under any circumstances, click that link, folks. And so I want to work on this in the background. And so, Lakeisha, I wanted to ask you about, all those different periods, which some would classify as seasons, and pun intended, in your life. We're here today. And actually, folks, we're going to be back here with Lakeisha next week. She is committed to coming in the next 2 Mondays because I want to be intentional. I've been trying to hold Mental Health Mondays down, but I'm not a clinician. And shout out to Dr. Brandy that's done a lot of that as well to help us hold it down. But I thought it was important, especially in these times with so much fighting us. And so through the different seasons in your life, did you notice a difference on the mental health side while careers were changing? You're becoming a foster mom and a single mom. Did the impact of that change in May versus October? Did you ever notice that depending on the season, what impacted your mental health varied based on the season? And this is going to get us into what we're going to talk about, seasonal affective disorder. This is a real thing, correct?
Yes. And I think you bring up a great thing. So just to put it in layman's terms, there's a difference between, feeling down. So I would have to say yes. And I think when you bring up money, naturally, if you don't have the resources to pay for things, there's going to be a level of worry. I think as a community, as a community of color, we are used to a lot of struggle, right? So our resilience often or resistance can be seen or misdiagnosed, right? Because, you're so strong, you gotten through that. So a lot of times because we're able to push through, find a way, make a way out of no way, make a dollar out of 15 cents. We have a lot of things that are innately about us as a culture that I think often will keep us misdiagnosed for depression. So I also want to point out that seasonal affective disorder is just a modifier, which means it's part of major depressive disorder. And so what that means,
it's that ancillary DSM.
Yes, it's like major depressive disorder can have anxiety. It can have psychotic features, right? So you can have other modifiers. So this just means that during certain seasons, you might feel like you can't get up. Like it's different, feel down, right? That's the blues. But when you have a depression or depressive disorder, you can feel like you can't get out of bed, like you can't get up. You feel very heavy. And I think for a lot of people of color, it's hard to be able to know the difference of our day-to-day struggles that's weighing us down versus an actual diagnosis that's weighing you down. And I think for us, it's sometimes not either or, it's an and.
I often say we can walk and chew gum at the same time. What I heard you say there, we become so conditioned to lifing, and we just function and we go. And thank you for raising the difference between being down. And I often say in the space that, it's okay not to be okay.
Right.
But when not being okay results in 3-4 days of not showering, not eating, you are isolating in a manner that is, and maybe you can help me define this better, that is unhealthy.
So,
and as individuals, what's healthy for like me being in the crib for 4 days, I'm going to shower, but me disappearing and turning my phone off for 4 days, for me, that's protecting mental health. But for somebody else, so can help us unpack that, please?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, for it to be diagnosed in the DSM-5, it has to be consecutive for at least 2 weeks. So not just a few days, but 2 weeks where it is very much a change in your functioning. So you have to have a couple of things, persistent sadness and irritability, fatigue and oversleeping, a loss of interest in activity, social withdrawal, increased appetite, especially for like carbs and things like that, feelings of hopelessness and guilt. So there's a combination of all these things that you have to have all at once, and it has to be consecutive for 2 weeks. And I think, again, layman's terms is different from saying like, I feel down, where you can attribute it to, I'm waiting on a particular check and the check hasn't come and I got to pay this bill, that bill, right? So you can pinpoint it, and, or you are taking a particular medication or you're using drugs. Like you got to make sure that, there's not other factors that could be contributing to the change in your functioning or the change in your mood. So I think that's when, it's good to meet with a therapist and sort of be able to track your symptoms to get the official diagnosis.
It's so interesting that we have now normalized the term diagnosis. We're normalizing the term therapy. At one point, coach, I felt that it became just this sexy thing. It's a trend. Oh, I'm in therapy. I'm in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But it now is, it's normal. It's for some, it's becoming more normalized and less of a taboo, I believe. By your experience as a professional, do you agree? And if you could speak particularly to folks that are, look like us.
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, I think the normalizing is we all have mental health, just like we have physical health. If you got a headache, your knees hurting, and you say, hey, I'm about to go to the orthopedics doctor, or, my tooth is hurting, I'm gonna go to the dentist. No, everybody understands that. It's cool, right? But we don't realize that every single one of us every day are also managing our mental health, just like our physical health. You're eating certain foods, you're working out, you're stretching, you're doing all of these things for your physical health. What are you doing on a daily basis for your mental health? And so a lot of times, if we just looked at it in our entirety, we looked at us as whole people, mental, physical health, all as one, we would have better self-care practices, right? That's where the whole self-care concept comes from, is the more you look at both your mind and your body being whole, how do you take care of your mind on a daily basis? The same way we say drink at least 8 ounces of water, and we say, brush your teeth, and we tell you to have 3 meals and 2 snacks, and we tell you all of these things, right? That's for your physical health. But often we don't think about how are we engaging with our mind on a daily basis. When you wake up, what's the first thing that you're saying to yourself? How do you perceive your day? How do you perceive yourself and others, right? Like these are those things that are part of psychological and emotional self-care that we don't necessarily do on a daily basis.
It's interesting. If you don't mind, if I could deviate a little bit, only for the purpose of one, when you said when we wake up, I'll be honest, when I wake up, first thing I do, and in that vein, I put up a post because you're talking about daily and mental health. And I believe, coach, in this season, we warrant at least 90 seconds about the impact of social media, all in the realm. Thank you for educating us that a seasonal affective disorder is a subdiagnosis of
it's a modifier. It's a major depressive disorder.
It's a major depressive disorder, which that is the larger category when it comes to diagnosis. And maybe at some point we can even have a session about that, because when you hear words like diagnosis and whatnot, it may alarm some people, but
yes,
knowing is half the battle. So,
right.
Okay. All right. So let's pull back. Seasonal affective disorder, major depressive disorder, social media, daily maintenance.
Yes.
Go.
Right. So ultimately, when you wake up in the morning, what is your relationship with the morning? You hear a lot of people that say, I'm not a morning person, right? And there's a reason for that. We all have a different rhythm and a different clock. There really are some people who function a lot better at night and afternoon and understanding, what works for you. And so when you know thyself, again, betting on self is about self-awareness and knowing oneself, right? If you struggle with morning times, what are some things that you need to do to make your mornings be more welcoming to you, right? And so one of the first things you may need is music. You may need to have a bottle of water on the side of your bed. You may need to start with prayer as soon as you open your eyes. Gratitude, as cliche as it sounds, but being thankful that your eyes opened and that you can see and that your limbs are moving and you can actually take them and put them on the other side of the bed, and just being grateful for the little things that you take for granted until your physical health is challenged. And then those things become, oh my goodness, they become such gifts. And so a lot of my work with people is to help with reframing the way they interact with life. For whatever reason, we've been duped to think that life is supposed to be this cakewalk and everything's supposed to go our way. And if we do everything the way we're supposed to, then everything's going to be fine. And although, yes, it's going to be fine, that does not mean that you won't go through some things. That does not mean that things won't go your way. That does not mean that people won't disappoint you or you won't disappoint yourself. So how do you navigate those things and understand that grief is something that we deal with constantly, even when it's not about the loss of a physical person?
Again,
I
I
know I'm dropping a lot, Jimmy.
it's a lot, and I'm trying to stay away from my little entry level clinical experience and really stay focused on extracting the best information that's going to impact the community from a layman and then somewhat maybe intermediary
Well, can I
level.
try to bring it together for you real quick?
Please, yeah,
Okay.
that's why you here.
So I'm giving this really high level view of it, but those things play into this concept of the seasons, right? And we're getting ready to go into the holidays. The holidays in itself is a trigger for loss, right? Loss of primarily loved ones, but also community and connection. All of the images that we see from society is often around family and connecting, and it's a reminder, right? It's also the loss of daylight, right? So we have it's getting dark sooner. So we don't think about grieving that, right? We don't think about grieving the summer months, right? We don't think about that. But in essence, what you're really looking at is you grieving pieces that you enjoy, right? So if you're more sunlight, you're outside, it's community, it's more you can do. Wintertime for a lot of people means isolation. It's colder months. So for a lot of the studies they've done on SAD, right, which is what we're talking about today, it's usually colder environments that they look at, people that are being isolated and it's colder months, and they say it's seasonal, but a lot of it has to do with there's no daylight. I think there's a place in Alaska where I think they get like
6 months light, 6 months light.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
places like that is where they really have looked at it, versus our seasons that we here have in Massachusetts. So seasonal affective disorder is very much connected to those circadian rhythms in our bodies, right? And we all have one. So less daylight. We're not outside as much. We're in the house. For some people, similar to when we went through COVID, right? You had to spend time around people that maybe you didn't even really want to spend time around. Sadly, being able to go outside and go to work and engage gave you breaks from individuals that maybe in households that maybe weren't the most happiest ones to be in all the time.
And there's a serious point to that too, because domestic violence reports went down, child abuse reports went down, though the incidents and practices thereof presumably coach went up, but because we weren't outside, that anyway, sorry. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're doing it, it's great. But I think the main thing I want to really point out to people is the understanding of self. And this is about functionality. The difference between being down and having a bad day versus having a mental illness or disorder has everything to do with the level of impact on your functioning and the persistence of it on your functioning. So someone has 1 or 2 days or has a bad day or a bad moment throughout the week doesn't have depression, right? But that doesn't mean that they haven't had a depressive episode in the past. So I think that's what makes it hard when we normalize everything and we made everything like what's that thing that people pop culture, pop therapy, like everything now is we're calling people bipolar, narcissistic, because they have certain traits that that match the diagnostic code, but that doesn't mean they actually have the diagnosis. A lot of us have multitask, right? A lot of us are easily distracted, but that doesn't mean we have ADHD, right? And so I think often we experience certain things just because we experience it doesn't mean that we have it, right? My knee hurts doesn't mean I need a knee replacement. So we sometimes will catastrophize things as a community, and we will normalize it to the point that everybody in this case must have depression. I mean, how many times do we get down? There's times where people don't want to get out of bed, right? Someone passes away, those things, they can look like they have depression, but it could be temporary because they just lost somebody.
This is and going back to the point, and if you're just joining, we have a license. What is your proper title? A licensed clinical?
Yes, a licensed independent clinical social worker.
That's okay.
Licensed independent clinical
social worker.
Yes.
For all these years, I forgot the actual breakdown of the acronym, but you have that information that you got through life experience. But the life experience is what you said a few minutes ago. Would I allow you to bring it all together?
Right.
I love how you're talking about from the clinical perspective, but you're also mixing in our life experience, because
yes,
let's just name, Coach, that some people have attempted to go to therapy. And would you agree that similar to like dating, sometimes finding the right therapist it's going to take some work. You're going to find out. But my point there is that I want people to, I'm intentional here, and I want people to understand that you know what you're talking about from a clinical experience and from
I get it. And you're right. It takes time to find a therapist. And I would say, speaking from my experience and just personally, Black folks are about vibes, right? We feel everything in our body first. It's like, well, it didn't feel right to me. And I think this level of, the idea of safety or being uncomfortable. We've been uncomfortable for a long time, in a lot of spaces we're uncomfortable. But when someone is challenging us and pushing us, it's similar to having a good trainer, right? And you go and they got you lifting 20 pounds, and then you come after 3 weeks and they give you the 30 pounds and you give them the side eye, like, wait a minute, what? And
wait a minute, are we talking from experience,
right,
Coach?
from experience, right? So your trainer often challenges you and you're uncomfortable. You can even be in a little pain, right? So everything that makes you uncomfortable isn't meant to hurt you. And so sometimes certain therapists that are challenging you and asking you questions and it's uncomfortable, it's not that you're not safe. It's just that you're being challenged to stretch your mind and to think about things from different perspectives. Often too, sometimes people are talking about judgment. I don't want to feel judged. And these things all come from experience. Sometimes someone just challenging what you did or bringing up that you said X, but you did Y, can feel like judgment versus someone holding you accountable.
Which we're not often used to, and in fairness, because I love how we're walking and chewing gum at the same time. There's validity to feeling the right vibes, but then after you feel the right vibes, it's not a bad vibe, rather, that your therapist said, hey, you said 2 weeks you was going to do this and you didn't. Oh, now it's a bad vibe. No, you're being held accountable, which some of us in many life experiences are not used to as an adult. The other piece that you said was, I'll come back to that, but it's not, I love how you credited the vibe, but then
right. So it's idea, like, how do we create safety? Because we talk a lot about creating a safe space, but in a safe space, we also have to talk about hard topics, things where we don't always agree. We don't see eye to eye. We got to bring up difficult conversations, right? Setting boundaries. All of these things don't always feel comfortable. And when we're not comfortable, sometimes we equate that to safety. And so, again, when we start thinking about the difference between a seasonal kind of blues, right? So today I didn't have a bad day. Like earlier today, us going through trying to get this technology working, right? We weren't in a good space, right? We're like, oh, shoot, are we going to have to cancel? Like we had an emotion to the stimuli, which is the technology not working.
Ouch, right? Ouch, ouch. You just really hurt me real bad.
Right. But that was unconscious. It was automatic. You didn't have to think about it. You just had an emotional response. How you felt about it is where you now have a chance to reframe. So there's actually 6 universal emotions. I don't know if people know that, but a
Let's
lot of being able to understand this sad seasonal affective disorder is to understand your emotions about the season changing. So I'm gonna bring it all home. So there's
come on.
actually 6 of them, right? First one we all know is happiness, because everybody's always talking about happiness. I'm not happy. This doesn't make me happy. I just want to be happy, right? We all know that one. The other one is anger, right? We all know about anger, right? Anger for our community, I think, is one of the ones that we all can see, we can all understand. Um, Almost the one that was most accepted often. We can all understand anger.
Can I pause for a minute? Because something that you said just stood out to me. You didn't say that about happy. You said that the number one accepted would be anger. And what that said to me was that unfortunately, Lakeisha, there are some that don't celebrate our happiness. So you know where I'm going with this.
I know, but let me give you the rest of them.
Sorry. Jesus, you.
All right.
Yep.
So then the other one is sadness, which is another very well recognized one that I would say that we can relate to as a community, right? Happiness, sadness, anger. Then there's surprise, which I think people can connect to, but maybe not often realizing that that's an emotion. We have fear, which is another one that I think a lot of us are operating from, is fear. And then if I'm and the last one is disgust. Disgust.
I heard you. I never knew that's not an opinion.
Disgust.
That's an emotion.
Yeah, I'm disgusted is an emotion. Disgust.
Okay.
So what happens is you automatically, based on your lived experience, your body is got a memory file box in its mind. It's already filed in there. You automatically will, let me reframe that. You automatically will experience, because I want to be clear, one of these emotions. Right?
Yes.
You then get the opportunity to decide how you feel about the emotion you experienced. This is why your feelings can lead you astray.
Wait, but hold on, coach, because one will synonymously say that emotions and feelings are the same thing.
I know, but they can look it up for themselves. It's a misconception that most of us have. Because this is where we go back to when people say, I can't really explain how I feel. But I know something's off. The vibes that we get as Black people, right? The vibe is automatic, right? We know we feel something about this don't sit right with me. I can't name it though. I can't really express to you what I'm feeling, but something ain't right. Something ain't right.
And what do we say? The vibes were just, it was the vibes.
What? I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling them. I can't really put my finger on it.
You know us, because you is one of us. But go ahead. So these 6 universal emotions. So what we learned, you helped me today, because for me, emotion and feeling was anonymous. If I'm angered, which is the emotion that I'm feeling angry, but I could be angered, and help me with this here, because the emotion is anger.
So
you're saying that I have a minute to feel either okay about the anger, or because feelings and emotions aren't this.
Yes. So now you get to determine what perception and what feeling you want to associate with that emotion. But here's where therapy comes in at. And I don't got a lot of time because I got a
Oh,
client.
no, you got to. Okay, we got a few more minutes, and we
got to go to part two. I want to
yes.
I wrap this up, and I can do it. I can do this and make this real.
I'm going to shut up, put myself on mute,
and put it in a bowl. What I want people to take away from this conversation, because I'll be back next week, is understanding the emotion that you have about the season changing, the holidays coming, being alone, whatever it is that's your what's on your mind, your thoughts, right? That will help you to be able to come up with a plan, a self-care strategy to navigate these emotions that you have. Because we do get to decide how we want to feel about something. And a lot of times we don't think that we have that power to do that, but we can. I recently had this conversation that once you decide, you know what, when this person calls me, I feel angry. How do you want to feel about that, feeling angry about that person calling you? You can say, well, you know what? I give myself grace for feeling angry because that person wronged me back in 1982. They never apologized to me. I've been waiting on this apology for 20 years. And I feel obligated because this is my sister. So when I see her number come up on the phone, I am angry and I have all these emotions and then I avoid her. Did you follow what I just did? Right? So I give myself grace that I'm still not ready. I give myself grace that I understand society has said me and my sister should have a close relationship, but it has been severed because of all of these other things. And I'm still angry about that. But the way I feel about it now is I'm okay. And I understand why we don't talk. And I also understand that to talk to her would mean that she would have to do some things that she's not ready to do. And so my boundary is I don't talk to her. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She's very clear on why I don't talk to her. Mm-hmm. But yes, this situation makes me very uncomfortable because I really would love to have a better rapport with my sister.
The emotion is anger, and how you feel about it, what you just process, is the feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think that we got a big, I'm presuming your next is at 11, so we got to let you go. But the big thing that I walked away with, and I hope the community realized today, that the emotion sometimes, as you said, happens uncontrollably. So, but then we got to be more cognizant. And this is where therapy gives you. Carlos Enriquez talks about the tips and tricks and the toolkit that you and your therapist design for when these incidents come up. Coach, I want to be sensitive because you're a professional and I want you to be able to reset and get into. And I know you can do it, you're in the mold, but I just want to be sensitive to you have a couple
I'm good. As long as I leave, you know, that's why I'm giving you that 3-minute clock, because you know me and you are talkers. So it's more for me.
Well, me too, because you know I can talk too, because I think that the more people see these conversations and get it on a layman's level from a professional like this, they're more open. I can't tell you how many people have hit me up and said, yo, I hit Nyesha, or I'm in therapy now because, you know, I've seen it. Well, I'm implying in this brothers, but you know what I'm saying? So Lakeisha, you're going to be back with us on next Monday, the 27th. And how can folks follow you? I will just put it in here. Well, you know where the private chat is. But just tell me and I'll put the @ How can
Yes, so I'm currently taking new clients, and I also have 2 clinicians on my team who are able to take some clients. They can follow me on therapist_coach LA. I also have a website, which is www.iamcoachla.com. I want to say this too, just in closing. I'm a whole person. And one of the things I do is I live authentically as Lakeisha Austin, all aspects of me, right? In that also, there's a thing called self-disclosure. Maybe we can talk more about that next week. That doesn't mean that every emotion that I experience in every situation that I go through, I'm documenting on my page or I'm publicizing it. But don't get it twisted, people. Every single one of us are navigating these 6 universal emotions. Be you a therapist, be you a politician, be ever whoever you are. It is part of being human. And so this misconception that, social media is fake, I like to again push back. People are showing up, showing you what they want to show you, what they're comfortable showing you. How you experience it, the emotion you associate with it, and how you feel about it is totally up to you, because you can determine how you want your feed to look. If you want your feed to look different, engage with content and material. If you don't want to just see entertainers and drama and mess, stop liking it and commenting on it. I follow a lot of
and sharing it. Sorry.
Yes, I follow a lot of people that y'all are my friends, associates, that I see you on stuff that I'm on because we liking it. And it shows that you're liking these things. And some of this stuff is so unconscious. You just like Chris Brown because you like Chris Brown, but you don't give that same love or the same commentary to your regular everyday folks like me and Jamba with Jimmy, right? Just think about that in terms of why your feed looks the way it looks. And a lot of these individuals are so beyond our pay grade. Chris Brown is like, these people they're not even seeing half our comments no more because there's so many of them. As they say, they've gone viral. You know what I mean? So they're not necessarily even knowing you that you're there. There's millions of likes and millions of comments at this point. But someone like me and Jimmy, we actually can go in and like, comment, engage with you, and actually validate that you're a real person on the other side of the screen. So I know that took us off
Nope.
to another
No,
place.
Because you affirmed a lot of things.
Why am I saying this? Because I want to leave people with a strategy on how to deal with this stuff. Is about connection and community. You have to connect with people that you can touch and feel. And if you think that your social media isn't real, think about how much time you're spending with it. For anybody who says it isn't real, go on your phone and see how much screen time you're spending in what you consider to be not real. And a lot of our emotions that convert into feelings are associated with the things that we digest and we engage in. So if you want to be able to navigate the blues and feeling down, think about what you ate, both physically and mentally, because often that's what's making you sick.
With that being said, Coach, I appreciate you. We'll follow up.
See y'all next week.
I love you. Coach, go and do what you got to do in your professional space. And this was your professional space here as well. But thank you.
Thank you, Java with Jimmy. Love you.
Love you too, sis. Thank you so much.
See you later. Bye, everybody. Have a good week.
I now realize that why God it was I still don't like my little blue picture. But I realized why that was allowed to happen this morning, because you talk about a meltdown and a crash out. I was hold on. Because she couldn't hear me. I figured it out. Thank you, Jesus. So I hope you all enjoyed today and walked away with something. We are going to be more intentional about bringing back our sub-brand, Your Healthy Java. Speaking with that, tomorrow morning, we have the opportunity to back in partnership with the Action for Boston Community Development in the Health Services Department. We are going to have our Your Healthy Java segment tomorrow in partnership with ABCD. And let me just get the information for you there. While I'm doing that, let me just get this message to you, and we will be right back with you in just hold on, I got it here. Y'all know how this stuff goes. In just a couple of seconds, we're going to share this, I hope, this information with you. Where is it at? Hold on. It's coming. Wait a minute. Where is it? Okay. Well, we're going to share the information with you about tomorrow morning's Your Healthy Java segment with ABCD. And we are excited to have with us in tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we are going to speak with Casimir Vasquez, Senior Manager of Youth Engagement and Prevention, Yumi Espinoza, and also Maureen Scott as well. And we're going to talk about domestic violence and some other related issues on tomorrow morning with Maureen and also Yumi. So please plan to be with us tomorrow morning in the same vein of Your Healthy Java. Listen, I will probably not be able to do a full overview of last week, thank yous, the video, everything like that. I will probably not be able to do that until Thursday. So we're going to do that. But I wanted to let you know that we will be here tomorrow morning with ABCD. Wednesday, we will not be opening the Java Cafe. Wednesday morning, I am going to travel to get a very, very exclusive interview. I'll say with someone that cooks. And we have to go get that interview. So Thursday, we're going to do a recap. All right. We'll do a recap of the other night, but I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I'm not naming names now, but Thursday we'll do a recap. Again, please go follow Coach Law, and also plan to be with us next Monday. Dr. Brandy will be with us the following Monday. Coach Law is a therapist. Home drop trades for our people. Somebody over on Instagram. What was I getting ready to say? Dr. Brandy will be back with us on the first Monday in November to get ready for the holidays. And, you know, she checks in. And so she's held us down for a few years around. She has a doctorate in education, and she moves in the mental health space and does a lot of research. But we had a certified bona fide therapist in the Java Cafe this morning. And so we're working on Your Healthy Java shows for November with Dr. Rick Lee and also Bear. So we got a lot going on. We will see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Thank you for being with us, and we will talk to you soon. UC members, you all get 90 minutes today. All right. Thank you, everybody.